Right, okay. Just a brief introduction. I am Jessie, pronouns they, she. I am 28. I am from the UK. I'm a full stack JavaScript developer in her 20s. I'm also a PA school dropout with a huge passion for all things science, tech, free and open source, and federated. So I'm really excited to show what I've been working on over the last couple of months and to share my vision for 11tyCMS moving forward. And a brief introduction to 11tyCMS. It is a free and open source serverless local first content management system for 11ty. There are no subscriptions, there are no servers. It's just you, your writing, and your website. No middleman. It's very much, I think, um, as like what you saw with Silex earlier, we have very similar goals in trying to make sure that no one is particularly locked down to any one thing, which is what I think excites both, um, what really excites me about both projects, really. But yeah, that's a brief introduction to 11ty CMS. So yeah, why did I make 11ty CMS? So to begin with, I wanted to get back into blogging because I didn't want to, but I didn't want to have like the burden of hosting my own server or managing a database. I didn't want to be held hostage by centralized hosting either. I didn't want to have a bloated WordPress install. I didn't want to have to manage databases or anything heavy or resource hungry, because I think a pet peeve for me is with the modern web, it's quite heavy. A lot of things require JavaScript on the client side to put things together, things like React. But yeah, it can make the web like quite heavy and slow and just needlessly complicated. But yeah, I that's not something I particularly like about the modern web, despite being a React developer myself. So yeah, when I discovered 11ty, I was very much blown away by how powerful it was and like what you could do with it. I very much kind of had it in my head for a while that I wanted to make my own blog. After having spent so much time doing things with like Tumblr and whatnot, um, I I'd I'd kind of wanted to sort of do something that wasn't so centralized, and 11ty was like sounded like the perfect deal for it because it was so fast and adaptable. But when I first like programmed my template for it and everything else, I was blown away at how quickly everything came together. Like within 4 hours, 4 or 5 hours, with no prior experience, I had a fully fledged blog ready to publish onto the internet, which is completely crazy. And it was like something that really was like an eye-opening moment for me. Like, wow, this is a really good platform to build websites on. Um, yeah, just very lightweight and easy to use as a developer, which really excited me. Now, I loved the idea of writing my own posts and 11ty putting all the pages together, and that like the server didn't have to do anything. It just literally had to spit out a HTML page to the client. And I didn't have to worry about any computational power or anything like that, just files. And better yet, I didn't have to worry about my blog's database getting hacked because there are no databases, it's just files. Um, so within like about 5 hours, I had it all going and I was good to go. But one thing I noticed was that within um, like my workflow at the time, I was writing blog posts in VS Code, which I did not want to do. Especially writing Markdown, if anyone's done that in VS Code, it isn't a pleasant experience. I wouldn't recommend it. Um, and I was starting to sort of like use my like note-taking software, which supports Markdown to make blog posts with, and then just copying and pasting the Markdown into VS Code, but it just felt very clunky. Um, and that's what got me thinking, well, surely there must be, CMSs for 11ty, ones that are lightweight, maybe ones that are local, that don't require me to run a server, like an app I can open to manage my 11ty site, surely. Um, and what I found was that there are no CMSs that fit my vision for what I wanted 11ty CMS to be, which is a serverless, local first, no subscription, and completely free and open source content management system. Um, so yeah, that's what got me doing some more searching. I thought, well, okay, there's got to be something out there. So I Googled it. Strapi came up, WordPress came up, but nothing that fit that vision. And that's kind of what like gave birth to the idea of 11 to CMS, basically. So yeah, that's where 11tyCMS came from. A local Electron app. Unfortunately, I am so sorry. I am doing my best to move away from Electron, but for getting the MVP going, I'm going to just stick with Electron for now, but I am making everything very platform ambiguous so that we can move on to things that are a little bit more lightweight, hopefully in the future. But my main goal with this was for it to be open source, no subscriptions, no servers, just, you know, completely free of any kind of centralization. I wanted to be able to manage an 11ty website with a rich text editor and a comfy user experience and user interface that's easy to use because I wanted to democratize 11ty a little bit because 11ty is a very like centralized, sorry, a very developer-centric experience, I think. And it's not necessarily quite so user-friendly for someone who doesn't have a lot of coding experience. So what I wanted was something that would allow maybe a developer to make a template and a theme for someone on 11ty, and then have the end user just be able to use an app to open that folder and start working with their 11ty site. I also wanted 11tyCMS to be extendable, which, to give the ability for community-made plugins to further expand the vision of 11tyCMS as well. So if there's any functionality that people want to add, I want to give them the opportunity for that as well. But most of all, the primary goal was just making sure that I forward the vision of the indie web to as many people as possible, which is another thing that I very much admire about Silex, because I think we're both running in that direction of trying to get as many people involved with building for the indie web as humanly possible, and that's what I'm hoping 11tyCMS can help contribute to as well. Which is basically just, I want it to match the same paradigm that 11ty has, which is basically everything happens on your machine, and then you chuck the resulting files out onto the internet, and it just works. Because right now the CMS options for 11ty are such that you require servers, databases, it gets very clunky very quickly. So yeah, that is my very brief introduction to what brought me here. So yeah, let's take a little look. Let's see, a copy up here running. So in the background, you'll see that I've got the 11tyCMS blog. Going in the background running through a Python web server from the underscore site folder from 11ty. There's a reason for this, which will become clear later, but it's running locally right now, so we'll come back to that in a bit. But we open up our website here, so let's just actually refresh this. So when you first open up 11tyCMS, you will see this page. For the time being, it looks like this. I'm going to change this, but at the moment you have to press the select 11ty site button here, and then you can open up your website folder. And what this will do is it will look at your 11ty sites folder. It will scan every single directory in your 11ty websites folder, and it will check for markdown files. And if it finds markdown files, it will then check for a JSON file with the same name as its parents folder. And if it has those two things, it will classify them as a collection, and it will put it in the sidebar here. And that will allow us to open up the contents of that folder. And then you can see that what happens then is every single markdown file in there has its front matter exposed to the app. So that means any metadata is available now to the list here. So that's why I've been able to get the title instead of just the file name. And we've also got the file date here as well. So if we go to our latest blog post, we can see that we have access to the title, the metadata for the date, and the contents of the post. So yeah, we've got quite a lot you can do in here. So this is a markdown editor that's also rich text as well. For the time being, it doesn't have a toolbar because this is based off of Milkdown. Now, Milkdown is a special text editor library for React and just JavaScript in general, but it has a React library. It's a fantastic library, but it is a little bit difficult to use at first, so I'm still learning how to use it, and the menu bar thing's a little bit tricky for me right now. But it supports full keyboard shortcuts right now, so you can do italics, bold, underscore, all sorts of stuff, no problem. But you can also write down the Markdown as you're typing as like you would in any other rich text slash Markdown editor. So if I wanted to say hello and then I wanted to do bold world, it works. Um, Markdown is slightly differently parsed here, but yeah, it works really, really well. And I've been using it to make all of the posts that you see on 11tyCMS.com, which is our blog where you can see all the updates for 11tyCMS. It has full image support as well, which also supports GIFs and everything else. It has support for all the major Markdown syntax that you can think of, things like links work, everything. So yeah, Markdown very much does a lot of the heavy lifting with the writing experience of 11tyCMS, which I'm really excited about. Now, one of the really cool things about this is that you have full access to your front matter through the metadata area here. So you can actually edit, well, not yet, that's coming soon, but you can add metadata. So if I wanted to make this post a draft, so new homes build and publishing with, yeah, all that. So I can call this the draft key, which in this template means that anything with the key draft set to true in the front matter, this template, this site template, will exclude it as a post. So I'm going to set that as a Boolean. There'll be many more types very soon, but for now I've just got it as text and Booleans. So we're going to set that to true. And then we're going to press save. Now, the really cool thing about 11T CMS is that I wanted to make sure that you could both build and publish your website within the app. And that's where these two buttons come in. So you have build and publish. The build button will just run the 11T command to build the website in the root of the sites folder. Publish will run a custom command that you have set that will do whatever you need with the files, whether that's publishing via Git or whatever. Now we're going to provide templates for those commands so that people can integrate them easily. But for now, that's not coming. I'll go into that in a little bit more detail a bit later. So as you can see right now, this is on the front page. But if I was to press build, you can see that it has a nice little loading animation there. And if we refresh, you'll see it's gone. But if we go back here and then delete that key, build again, it's back again. So you can see how nice of an experience this will be. Now, another thing I'm hoping to do as well is have like a split screen version of this so that you can actually have the editor alongside the preview of your actual blog and its template as you're writing. So if you want to see how things are looking, you can do that as you're writing. So yeah, that's the basic editor experience. That's the metadata support and everything else. Yep, you can also add new blog posts here as well by typing the file name. This is very primitive right now. I need to figure out a better user experience as to figuring out how to best handle things like URL slugs and whatnot. But yeah, you can enter your file name there and it'll take you to the new name, to the new file. And from there you can just start blogging. Now I just need to refresh because we don't have a close button on that. But if we open that up again, you'll see that we have a little like site pill area up here. Eventually, when you click that, that will lead you to the site dashboard, which will take you to all the settings for your website, where you can change things like the site's metadata, the site's favicon, or anything like that, because you can see that there it displays the favicon for your website. So there's a lot more that needs to be done as far as the design goes. But yeah, it's quite exciting what we've got so far, but we have a very long way to go, which we'll be talking about next. So let me just get back to the presentation. So yeah, prepare for a very overwhelming roadmap. Wait, hang on. Where has that slide gone? There we go. So this is the project roadmap. This is subject to change. It's a lot and potentially quite overambitious for one person. So if anyone wants to get involved, please feel free, get in touch. So basically, at the moment, we're in our core phase, which means perfecting core functionality. We're working on making the core functionality as perfect as it can be to give us a stable base to build something special on. So this involves things like making sure that we've got like full metadata support. So when I say that, I mean more than just booleans, more than just strings, things like arrays, files, images, anything like that, date time support, to really give people a powerful base to build on, because I think the metadata support in 11tyCMS will be a killer feature. I've already found it very useful because if I want to add a YouTube video to any of my posts, all I have to do is put YouTube ID as the key in my front matter and then set the value to the ID of a YouTube video, and it will automatically use that as an embedded thing in the actual website once it's built and published. And I think that's where the power of 11tyCMS really comes in, because if the template supports it, all you've got to do is set the metadata up to take advantage of that support. Another thing I want is search functionality. I mean, I've said better search there, but just search functionality at all, because right now we don't have any search functionality. But what I want is to be able to search any post's front matter, um, across all collections, which will be possible because the 11tyCMS app does actually use a MySQL-like database that mirrors all of the front matters data in memory, so that you can actually search these posts quite easily. We also want better post management, so the ability to do things like moving posts between collections, deleting them, neither of which are possible right now. I also want a site dashboard, which I talked about briefly earlier. So when you click on your site's pill, you can kind of like manage things like the site's title, the site level metadata, so things that are outside of the front matter of your post, you can edit like, the JSON data relating to your site's social media or name or anything like that. So that's something that I really want to work on quite soon. And there's also a lot more here as well that needs to be put in. I didn't want to overwhelm that section of the presentation, but I also want to improve the UI and UX of the Milk downloads that we currently have, along with creating a proper homepage for 11tyCMS, because right now it's just a blog. But we will be working on that very soon. I also need to be testing for Linux and Windows, because right now this has only been tested on Mac. I also want to create a welcome wizard as well, so that when you open your 11ty site for the first time with 11tyCMS, it will provide you with everything that you need to set it up to work within 11tyCMS in the best possible way. Because I realize that the structure of your project in 11tyCMS has to follow a very particular pattern, and I would very much like to try and make it as flexible as possible for as many people as possible. So then comes the alpha phase. This is when I'm hoping to actually release it to the public, because right now the source code can't be found anywhere. There aren't any builds, but I am aiming to get a build out as soon as I can. I just want to make sure that it's not going to break anyone's websites imminently. But yeah, in alpha phase, this is basically just making sure that we have the extra nice to haves, and maybe more advanced features. So the other part of my vision for 11tyCMS is to involve a proper VS Code style code editor, and integrated terminal, which will allow you to sort of just add those quick little changes to your templates if ever you need to. So, if you've forgotten a block quote CSS, you can just quickly switch to code mode, and then it will show you all the code files for your 11ty project. And then from there, you can quickly change things rather than having to tab out into VS Code and do stuff in there. I also want site level metadata editing, which will be mostly part of the site dashboard, but yeah, that's something I really want to work on. And better publishing support. So I mentioned this earlier about having multiple publishing methods. Right now, the only publishing method that works within 11tyCMS is Neocities. But my plan is to eventually have it so that in the site dashboard, there will be a bunch of what I call templates for publishing, which will be pre-made commands for Git, for WebDAV, for SFTP, FTP, Neocities obviously, and Git. And then you can kind of configure those in the way that you need for it to work with whatever deployment that you want to do. Because then that will kind of make it a very powerful publishing tool as well, rather than just like a management tool. So that's alpha phase. Then we have beta phase, which is refining and polishing the UI and the UX, and like trying to sort of perfect the design of every corner of 11tyCMS. I really want this to be a good experience for people. What I want 11tyCMS to be is something that really encourages you to write, something that you want to open up because it feels really good to use. Because again, my mission here is to try and get people hooked onto bringing their creativity to the indie web. And that's what I'm hoping 11ty CMS can be. So that involves subtle but satisfying animations, refactoring the CSS to be more consistent and easier to manage, even maybe a dark mode, a light mode as well. I'm also hoping to have like a color scheme mode so that whenever you open your 11ty sites folder, you can define what color scheme you want to change to. So if you're managing multiple sites, it's a little bit easier to differentiate between them. And then we have the full release phase. So this is getting ready for the future. Once all these previous phases have been completed, we'll be focusing on preparing 11ty CMS for future growth. So making sure that we've got a very solid foundation, good infrastructure in place to make sure that we're prepared for what's to come next. So this means improving things like branding, so getting a better logo, and making sure that we've got good social media presence and a good kind of community around us where we can sort of like communicate and survey our users on the UI and UX and really be involved and get people involved, as well as developing developer guidelines on 11ty CMS site structures. So that is to sort of say, hey, 11ty CMS works best with these site structures. Try to follow these, and here's how you can take advantage of our features. Blah 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 blah. I think those will be very important to do. We're also planning on making some instructional videos as well. So yeah, that's another thing that I'm hoping to sort of get done for the full release phase. And then finally, we have the post-release prosper phase, which is building the future of 11ty CMS. So after we settled into full release, we want to make sure that at this point we're sort of doing whatever we can to um, kind of add all the pie in the sky features that I'm dreaming of right now, which are things like plugin support, site level theme support, which means that you can design a theme for 11ty CMS in your 11ty site. So when you open that project, maybe you have your branding appear in the design, or maybe there's particular design philosophies that your website follows that you want to extend into 11ty CMS. It will show up there as well. Plugin support, which I discussed earlier. So if there's any extra features that people want added, they can be added via third party. There's also the potential for server-side installations as well. I'm trying to figure out how this might work. It goes against the philosophy of 11ty CMS, to be honest, but I'm also very aware that sometimes a website might grow to a very big size and there may need to be collaboration involved. And the structure of 11ty CMS is such that it wouldn't be that difficult to make a web server version of it, with authentication and everything else, so that people can actually collaborate on 11ty sites together, with something a little bit more lightweight. But yeah, that is the project roadmap so far, and that has been 11ty CMS. Yeah, if you would like to follow us, we are posting all the time about our progress on 11ty CMS at mstdn.social, and you can also follow all the details on our blog at 11tycms.com. Yeah, the speed of production is quite slow. I am working on this in my spare time, and I'm in full-time work at the moment, with other developer duties, so my brain is mostly used up on other things. But I'm hoping to try and get that balance um, as much as possible in the favor of 11ty CMS so that we can make some progress very soon. But I'm very much hoping to have a early release in people's hands by the end of this year. Um, and yeah, hopefully we can get people involved and passionate about what we're trying to do. But yeah, that's been 11ty CMS, and thank you so much everyone for taking the time to watch.